Hey, what is up guys? It is Harrison Barron, the Millennial Entrepreneur. Now, in this video, I want to cover what A-B testing is, how you can use A-B testing, and ultimately, how you can improve your sales funnel. Now, this is probably the most important thing to do after you get traffic to your website. So after you've started to get those 10,000, 20,000, 50, maybe 100,000 plus visitors per month, it's about optimizing your funnel and ultimately testing out to see what emails are going to work the best for you and your business, right? Because that's ultimately what you want to do. We've already established in the last video that essentially more visitors mean more money for your business. Regardless of what industry you're in, chances are pretty good that if you get more visitors to your website, you're going to get more customers. That's literally the math. Visitors, customers, that's it. That's how it goes, right? So I want to actually break down the process that we use, where we took a customer who was sending about 17,000 emails over the course of about a year and change, and made about $50,000 on it, to sending 5,000 emails and making $70,000. So it's about a 300% return. Yes, it is absolutely 100% true. Very, very happy, and probably one of our greatest success stories. Now, could we refine it and make it better and better and better? Yeah, we definitely could. But at this point, the customer's really happy with where it is, and honestly, we're kind of squeezing all the juice out of it at this point. Could we, maybe get it up a couple more percentage points? Yeah, and dollar amounts? Yeah, probably. But at this point, it's really kind of, you're shooting for perfect, and this is definitely way better than good enough. So I want to show you guys the exact process that we use basically at our agency, and then also what a lot of other people really use to make this really effective and make email marketing effective, really just kind of drill down and make it as good as possible. So I want to cover A/B testing and ultimately how you're going to optimize your funnel, and A/B testing actually plays a massive part of that. So what is A/B testing? A/B testing is you have your A and then you have your B, right? Seems pretty simple, right? But what is A/B testing? A/B testing is essentially the process of either using a test, side-by-side test. So what works better? Use case A or use case B? So if you have a visitor, I love my little guys over here, and you're obviously going to have a bunch of them, and they're all going to be hanging out, right? And you're probably going to split 50 and then 50. And overall, you're going to have a result that comes out of either one of these. So what that is, it doesn't necessarily matter. But essentially, you're going to, or in theory, you should have one that highly outperforms the other one. Now, is that always the case? No, we've definitely A/B tested things where these are literally almost the exact same numbers, within a percentage point or so of each other. It's actually kind of strange when that does happen, because the copy is usually very different in the two. But that's essentially A/B testing, right? But you're really looking for one to say, okay, great, this is good, and then this will go in part of your funnel. That's really what A/B testing is at the core of it. It's testing something side by side. Doesn't necessarily need to be an email. It could be a landing page. It could be a website homepage. It could be a million different things. It could be an ad. It could be a blog, right? There's literally so much out there. It could be an ebook. Essentially anything out there. People A/B test their thumbnails on YouTube all the time because they want the best thing. They want the thing that's going to perform better than the thing previously. So people that are really good at YouTube, right, and they have a huge following, if they put out a video and they don't get the result that they really wanted on their video, they're going to go out and make a different thumbnail or a different caption, whatever it may be. So that's A/B testing at the core of it. But how do you really utilize your A/B testing to make your funnel as good as possible? So we're going to start here, and this is going to be, we already covered a funnel. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory at this point. I mean, that's it, right? You get your customer to come in here, and then they go through your funnel, and then ultimately, hopefully you're walking out with a sale or something else outside of that, right? So you're going to have, your customer, all right? Let's draw my little guy again here. I'm definitely not the best stick drawer. And they're going to come into your funnel. So what does that look like in the beginning, right? So everybody is going to have something totally different, and that's okay, having something totally different. It could be they're coming in through an Instagram post, through a social media post, Pinterest post, could be a Google search on a blog, could be a YouTube video kind of like this, right? Things like that. They're going to be coming in from a variety of different areas. And essentially what you want to do is you want them to come in and visit, right? So they're going to visit, and then they're going to go through to something else. So in theory, about 99% of the time, you're going to want to grab an email. So email, And I actually just made a couple of videos before this about what an email collector is, how they work, and why they're effective. And now that we have an email, right, now we could actually start to bring them through that funnel, which could be over here, right? So we want to bring them all the way down this and get them to what we all want, which is a sale at the end of the day. So we have a visit, we have an email, and then ultimately we're going to start testing our funnel. I'm going to just draw an arrow right here. And you want to send them an email, but maybe you don't know what email to send. If you're first starting out, don't get carried away in the numbers and what percentages and things like that. Get your first layout, right? I'm going to draw this in a actually I'm not going to draw in a side by side. We're just going to go with an email right now. And you want that first email chain to go out, right? So maybe it's an email, and then maybe it's probably going to be an email number 2, E2, E3, right? And maybe it's, email number 4. Sorry, I'm still learning how to write on this thing. Email number 4, and so on and so forth, right? But maybe you realize at email number 3, right here, there is a major problem, right? What is that problem? Chances are pretty good maybe people aren't opening. No opens, right? Maybe it's they're not engaged. That's engagement, if you couldn't tell. But there's a variety of different reasons, right? So what you want to do is you actually want to split off of email number 2 and get rid of essentially email number 3. Now, you don't necessarily want to get rid of it completely because you know that at least you have something in place. But what you want to do is you want to A/B test. So this is A, and then you want to split off and make B. And this is really when funnels not only start to get a little complicated, but also they can progressively help you make more money. Because if you realize that there's a major problem here, right, you know that we need to fix this, right? So now you could start testing on B what that problem is. So maybe this is, email number 3.1, right? And then you might realize after a series of doing this that, only 10% of people open this and 45% of people open this email. Well, obviously at that point, you know that you can get rid of this ad completely. It's not going to serve a purpose. It's useless at this point, right? But what about email number 4? Email number 4 is still in that sequence, right? And maybe email number 4 actually is pretty good. And this is where you can then say, hey, you know what? Instead of going here, we're just going to reroute you back to email number 4. Now, most email providers can do this. I like OmniSend, I like ActiveCampaign, HubSpot. I don't particularly like MailChimp and Constant Contact. I'm not particularly fans of those companies, but they will do it if you really need it. But A/B testing is really what you want to look for. Aweber is another phenomenal emailing service, and ultimately these are all going to allow you to do this, where you can then say, hey, I'm going to reroute out of email 2 and test this side by side. And this is literally what we did for our customer. So we realized in the first email, we had problems all throughout the emails. There was not one problem, which is why we were able to so exponentially increase our goals, right? So this was a major problem for him. This was a major problem for him. And actually the first email completely that they got was a major problem for him. And it started out with 1 and 2. After a while, we did add 3, but 3 wasn't cutting it. It just wasn't grasping people enough. So we ended up A/B testing this, and then A/B testing this, and A/B testing this. And this is essentially what you're going to want to do over and over and over again. So if I bring this down a little bit, and we're going to start a new email campaign here. So we're just going to say, okay, great. Now, let's assume you already got their email address, so we don't have to worry about that. And now you have your email, right? Most people, what you really want to do is you want to send the traffic here, and if you have time or you can build this right off the bat, this is definitely what I would recommend doing. But look, it's definitely a lot of work in the beginning because you're writing double copy for all of these. So we're going to have, so this is email number 1. Now we're going to have emails number 2.1 and 2.2, right? The points don't necessarily mean anything, but we're going to see which one does the best out of these. Now you might be thinking, well, what about all the rest of them? Well, the cool part is you need to have a centering ground. You can't just A/B test every email all at the same time. You're never going to figure out the right path, because if you go in and you say, hey, we're going to go back, we're going to join these together, and then we want to split them off again into another A/B test, you're going to run into a lot of problems, because maybe this email actually converts better than with this email than this email did with this email. So figuring out which one matches is going to be very difficult. You want to take out and you want to isolate one variable at a time. Kind of like a science experiment is really what you're running. You're running science experiments over and over and over again, where you want to take these, you want to then get rid of them. So I'm going to erase this right here. Whoa, this is very strange. Shrank. And then you want to go back to, hey, they're both going to come back to this one email over here, and that's going to be email number 3. Once you figure out this problem, right, and you say, hey, this is the one that I know, this one's no good, and this one's better, right, then you can move on to 3. The cool part is you don't always have to do this. If you find out that 2.1 is better, right, you could keep going on 2.1, and you don't have to necessarily worry about 2.2 and keep that other stuff, you know, where it is. So then you have 2.1, and then maybe you fire off another email that's 2.3. And then after a little while, you realize that 2.3 is the better one. So you're going to keep 2.3. You're gonna get rid of 2.1 because it's no longer useful anymore. And it might have its purposes, but for the vast majority of it, you might need to steal some copy. Don't completely delete it. But then you could go in here and then you could test, 2.4. And once you realize that the ceiling is already hit and you're not getting any better results, don't worry about perfection. There's no such thing as perfection in this. Go for good enough. And when you go for good enough and you say, okay, great, maybe you tried 2.4, after 2 or 3 or 4 iterations, you're like, hey, I'm done with this. Stick with 2.3, get rid of 2.4, and you are going to vary tremendously. And say, okay, great, 2.3 is now where I need to be. I'm going to get rid of this completely here. And now I'm going to have 2.3 going to 3. And now I want to A/B test 3 into, 3.1, 1 and 3.2. And then you A/B test these. A, B. And that is the process of A/B testing and funnel optimization. Over time, you're going to get this to be better and better and better. And you're going to be able to craft not only better leads, but you could do this with sales pages too. If you think like, hey, I don't know if this is a good sales page, right? You're still going to have traffic that's going to be coming in from wherever it is, right? And they're going to land on 2 pages. Now, you want to ultimately make the pages almost the same, but one variable changed. So that could be the color of the buttons, that could be the headlines, that could be adjusting a couple paragraphs inside. But you want to have, 1.0 and then 1.1. And then if you realize that 1.1 works, you're going to go back and you're going to fix, okay, great. You're going to copy 1.1 over to 1 over here, and then you're going to do 1.12, right? And figure out what variable in here works better, and then you're just going to keep testing it, testing it, and testing it. And this is really how those experts or those 7, 8, 9-figure earners, this is what they're doing. Or they have a team of people that are working on this all the time. They're looking at the data, they're looking at who's visiting the website, why they're visiting the website, all that kind of stuff, and ultimately they're trying to dial in and say, hey, this is the exact recipe that they need. Let's go with this, right? We know that and this is how you get those emails that I was talking about in the last video to become better and better and better. You can go through this. It's quite honestly, it's not that difficult. And this is something you can check on once every week, once every other week, right? Set this whole thing up, right? Separate the traffic. So, you have your A, you have your B, right? Separate the traffic out so you have A and B, and then watch it. Let it sit there for a week or 2. You're not going to get the results. You're not going to get the data you need to make the educated decision. The general rule of thumb is 1,000 people need to go through it. If 1,000 people don't hit this page and this page, right, you are going to have a major problem because there's not enough data in there to say, hey, if 10 people visited both, 10 people is not enough sample size for you to figure this out. So don't stress about it. Just let it sit there. If it takes 2 months, let it take 2 months. If it takes 4 months, let it take 4 months. But split your traffic up. Try to get it to go to A/B, and find a program that works for you. There's a million programs out there. I use Kajabi and HubSpot and Wix and Webflow and all these different programs, right? There are programs out there for you. Test different landing pages on different things. Send traffic to both of them and see which pages are going to perform the best, what emails are going to perform the best, what offers are going to perform the best. And this is ultimately how you're going to optimize your funnel. You're going to master A/B testing. And when you master these kinds of things, it's all about building that traffic, what I talked about in the last video, right? build more traffic. More traffic equals more customers. And when you have it dialed in to this degree, I'm pointing at my computer here, you can, one, hit the like button, but also you know that, hey, I know that this landing page converts at a 13%, right? Which is way higher than, the 30% I even talked about, or better yet, the 3% I talked about in the last video, right? This is the stuff that changes businesses. When you can dial this in, optimize it, and know that it's going to work time and time again, this is how you turn visitors into incredible amounts of money. Now, you still have to provide a good product, but that's besides the case. This is the process that you have to go through, picking it out, A/B testing one by one, and figuring out, hey, what's performing best, and keep getting the best performer over and over and over again. And after you've done it once, go back 6 months later or a year later and try to do it again, right? This is a never-ending battle. Keep your funnel simple. Maybe it's 5 or 6 emails, but test and test and test and keep writing and keep trying to get better. Because when you do, that's when you really start winning online. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. People are A/B testing Facebook ads. It literally allows you to do it in there. Their landing pages, their products. I mean, you name it, that's what's happening. So I hope this video helps. My name is Harrison Barron, the Millennial Entrepreneur. If you guys found value in this, like button, hit the subscribe button, and that little notification bell so you never miss another opportunity to make a ton of money in your business. I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions about any of this, please leave a comment down below. I would love to, if you have questions, I'd love to make a follow-up video, hoping I covered just about everything. Other than that, I'll see you guys later. Until then,